Welcome back to Educator.com. This lesson is on chemical reactions. A chemical reaction is when a chemical change takes place when one or more substances changes into a new substance. And the way that happens is through valence electron interactions. So if you remember, the valence electrons are the ones in the outermost energy level, and they interact by forming bonds, ionic bonds and covalent bonds. Those are the ones we talked about. So what happens in a chemical reaction is that bonds break and new compounds are formed and as bonds reform. So we're going to write these out using a chemical equation that uses chemical formulas and symbols. Remember, the chemical formulas are the ones you find in as the combination of symbols from the periodic table. So we have in our first chemical formula, we have Ca, which is calcium, that's the symbol from the periodic table, plus, and then there's a 2 in front of H2O. H2O is water, or dihydrogen oxide, and then there's in parentheses an L. Then we have an arrow, and then another formula, and then another formula. So let's break this down a little bit better. Ca means we have calcium here. Right here, this S, it's in italics and in parentheses after the Ca. If you take a look at this chart that I've put up, that means that we have a solid. So in this reaction, calcium is a solid. So we're adding a calcium solid as a solid, plus that 2 means that there's 2 units of water. 2 units of, and then in the L, go back to your table, that means we have liquid water. 2 units of liquid water. And then the arrow that points to the side, it always points to the right, that's the reaction arrow. It means yields. So our calcium plus 2 units of liquid water yields or produces, so we're going to say yields. Then we have calcium hydroxide. And in parentheses, there's an AQ. If we take a look, that means it's an aqueous solution. An aqueous solution is a substance that's dissolved in water. So the calcium hydroxide in this case is dissolved into water, so it's a liquid solution. Yields aqueous calcium hydroxide, and we have H2 followed by a G in parentheses. The G refers to a gas. So we have and gaseous hydrogen. So that's how we would say this combination of symbols and formulas, our chemical reaction. That's how we would say it in words. Calcium solid, a solid calcium plus 2 units of liquid water yields aqueous calcium hydroxide and gaseous hydrogen. All right, if we take a look here, I'm going to get these arrows out of the way. We want to break this down into what are the reactants and what are the products of this chemical reaction. The reactants are what you start with. Let's say the beginning ingredients is what we're looking at. And what we have is everything to the left of that reaction arrow. Those are going to be your reactants. The reaction arrow, which again means yields. Left of reaction arrow. And in this one above, that means calcium and water are our reactants. And the products is everything to the right of the reaction arrow. And everything to the right of the reaction arrow in this case is our calcium hydroxide and our H2. Okay, so if I was looking for the reactants, I'm looking to everything from the left of the arrow. If I look for the products or what we end up with after the chemical reaction takes place, that's everything to the right of the reaction arrow.